Patients here.
Oh boy, got some blood going.
Yeah, this is with blood.
Oh, he's wearing it too.
Welcome to the bed. When you get over to the bed, we'll go ahead and give you the story. This is all going to happen super fast. Welcome to the emergency room.
70-year-old female, single driver vehicle, appears that she went off-road into a ditch, rolled over her car into a tree, caved in, the top of the vehicle was caved in, so she was hanging out partially from the window. She's been in application
in your left hand.
for 45 minutes of CPR.
We can stop CPR with 600.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are opening up a file that creates a very specific kind of anxiety for nursing students and, frankly, new parents alike. We are talking about the preschooler, that distinct, somewhat chaotic window between ages 3 and 6.
It is such a deceptive age group. And I say deceptive because, on the surface, they look like they've got it together.
Right. They're adorable. They're starting to talk in full sentences. They're funny. They can dress themselves, mostly.
Mostly, yes.
But when you dig into the safety data and the developmental psychology, which is exactly what we're doing today, you realize this is a terrifyingly dangerous window of time.
It's arguably the most contradictory stage of human development. I mean, you have a child who is physically capable of almost anything, climbing fences, opening locked doors, striking matches.
Oh, yeah.
But cognitively, they are living in a complete fantasy world.
Right.
They have zero reliable judgment.
And that's the tension. That's exactly the tension we are going to explore. We've pulled together a massive stack of sources for this. We're looking at the 2025 CDC immunization schedules, the latest clinical presentations from Wolters Kluwer on growth and development.
And, of course, those incredibly dense chapters on health promotion and safety from the standard pediatric nursing text.
The ones everyone dreads.
The ones with all the lists. And if you look at those texts, the sheer volume of do's and don'ts for this age group is just, it's overwhelming. You have lists of milestones, lists of poisons, lists of vaccine schedules. It's enough to make a student want to just drop out.
Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. We are applying the 80-20 rule. We are not going to just read the lists. We're going to try to understand the operating system of the 3 to 6-year-old.
Right. Because if you understand how they think, and that's all Piaget, and what drives them emotionally, which is Erickson, you don't need to memorize the safety lists.
You can predict them.
You can predict them. They just become obvious.
So, whether you are a nursing student trying to survive a PEDS exam or a clinician trying to explain to a parent why their 4-year-old is lying about eating a cookie while literally holding the cookie, this is for you.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the hardware, the big picture developmental theme. Physically, this child is just transformed.
Oh, it's a dramatic shift.
Yeah.
If you picture a toddler in your mind, you're picturing that pot-bellied look, right?
Totally. The sway back, the whole thing.
Exactly. They have that sway back. Their legs are short. They have this wide stance just to stay upright. They are top-heavy. They look like they're about to tip over at any second.
But by age 3 or 4, that silhouette completely changes. The pot belly just, it vanishes.
It stretches out. And the growth rate actually slows down significantly compared to infancy. They are gaining, about 4 to 5 pounds a year and growing maybe 2.5 to 3 inches.
Which is much less than infancy.
Much less. But the quality of the tissue changes. That's the key. They lose the baby fat. They gain abdominal muscle. The spine straightens out. They become slender, upright, and kind of graceful.
And that physical change isn't just aesthetic, it's functional. I mean, that loss of bulk and gain of muscle is what unlocks that explosion in motor skills we're about to talk about.
Exactly. You can't hop on one foot if you have a massive center of gravity and weak abs. The physical maturation allows the neurological development to really shine.
Okay, so let's frame the core conflict before we get into the specific milestones, because looking at the sources, this feels like the setup for a disaster movie.
It essentially is.
Right.
It really is. Here is the conflict. On one side, you have Erickson's stage of initiative. Yeah. The child wants to do everything.
I do it myself.
I do it myself. That's the mantra. They have the energy and the motor skills to interact with the world aggressively.
So they have the go button, they are ready to launch.
They have the go button firmly, permanently pressed down. But on the other side, cognitively, they're in what Piaget calls the pre-operational stage. They lack logic. They lack judgment. They cannot predict cause and effect.
So They have a high-performance engine, a heavy foot on the gas, and absolutely no steering wheel or brakes.
That is the perfect analogy. It's dead on. And that gap, that chasm between what they can do and what they understand is where every single safety risk we discussed today comes from.
Let's break that down then. Let's go to what this child can do versus cannot do. The exams love to ask about the difference between a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. It seems granular, but there's a pattern to it.
There is.
Let's look at gross motor skills first. We can call this the go phase.
So the theme here is balance and just smoothing out the coordination. Let's start at 3 years old. The classic marker is the tricycle.
3 wheels for 3 years. Easy enough.
Yep. And I always see questions about stairs here. Toddlers do that marking time thing where they put both feet on one step before moving to the next.
Right, the shuffle up.
The shuffle up?
Yeah.
But a 3-year-old has the balance to alternate feet going up the stairs. Left, right, left, right. Going down is harder.
Gravity.
Yeah, because of the visual depth perception and gravity. So they might still 2-foot it on the way down. They can also stand on 1 foot, but only for a few seconds.
Yeah.
They're still a little wobbly.
Okay, so that is age 3. Now, move to age 4. What's the upgrade?
Age 4 is about agility.
Yeah.
Now they can hop on 1 foot reliably. They can throw a ball overhand. I mean, actually throwing it, not just shoving it forward.
A real throw.
A real throw. And here's a big one for sports readiness. They can catch a bounced ball.
That seems simple, but it's actually a huge neurological leap, isn't it?
It's massive.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. To catch a bounced ball, you have to track the trajectory, predict where it will come up, and time your hand closure.
A 3-year-old would just let it hit them in the chest.
Exactly. It hits them in the chest, and then they pick it up. A 4-year-old can actually interact with the moving object. They can move backward and forward with a lot more agility.
And then we hit age 5. The kindergartner.
The 5-year-old is physically school ready. The hallmark here is skipping.
Skipping is surprisingly technical. I feel like we take it for granted.
Oh, it is highly technical. It's a hop and a step in a rhythmic pattern on alternating legs. It requires cross-body coordination. If you see a question on an exam about a child skipping, jumping rope, or doing somersaults, that is a 5-year-old skill.
And bikes.
They can also usually ride a bike without training wheels, and they can learn complex movements like swimming strokes or skating.
So if I'm looking at a clinical scenario and the child is clumsily running but falling a lot, that's a toddler. If they are hopping and catching, that's 4. If they are skipping and skating, 5.
Precisely. It's a clear trajectory of balance and complexity.
Now, let's look at fine motor skills. This is the precision phase, and this seems to link directly to school readiness markers.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. We track this mostly through drawing and dressing. At 3 years old, they are still refining. They can copy a circle.
You said copy, not just draw. That's an important distinction.
Very. It means if you show them a circle, they can reproduce it.
Yeah.
They can also build a tower of, say, 9 or 10 blocks.
But they can't do corners yet, like a square.
Not really. That comes at age 4. At 4, they can copy a square. And a square requires you to stop your pencil, turn 90 degrees, and continue. That is impulse control in motor form.
And 4 is also the age of scissors, right? I feel like that's a huge deal.
Yes. Using scissors successfully is a major benchmark. It requires using the thumb against the other fingers, that's differentiation, and holding the paper with the other hand.
A lot of coordination.
It is. If a child cannot use scissors by age 4 or 5, that is a red flag for an occupational therapy evaluation. It's a major school readiness skill.
What about drawing people? This is always a funny progression to watch.
Ah, the tadpole person.
Yes.
That's typically age 4. It's a head with legs coming directly out of the chin, usually 2 to 4 body parts total. It's hilarious, but it shows they are starting to represent the human form.
And by 5?
By 5, we see a body. They draw a trunk, arms, legs, maybe a neck, usually 6 or more body parts. And geometrically, they can copy a triangle or a diamond.
Why is the diamond so much harder than the square?
It's the diagonals.
Yeah.
Crossing the midline and understanding diagonal relationships is much harder for the brain than just vertical and horizontal lines.
And the big one for 5-year-olds.
Oh, yeah. The 5-year-old can tie their shoes.
Which is practically origami with string.
It is. It's highly complex dexterity. If a 5-year-old is tying their shoes, their fine motor development is right on track.
I want to pause on the cannot do for a second, because we see this child tying shoes, skipping, cutting with scissors, and we assume they are practically tiny adults.
We do. It's a huge mistake.
But the sources highlight a major deficit in their understanding of time and context.
And this is where the nurse gets into trouble. You ask a 4-year-old, did you take your medicine at 9 a.m.? we might not. They have no idea what 90 a.m. is. They don't understand abstract time at all. They understand events.
So how do you talk to them? How do you get a real answer?
You have to relate it to their routine. Did you take your medicine after breakfast? Or we will go home when cartoons are over? Or when mommy comes back from work? You have to anchor time to their concrete reality.
And what about the context piece? They can dress themselves, but they can't choose the clothes, right?
Correct. They have the motor skill to button the shirt, but they lack the judgment to know that a swimsuit is not appropriate for a snowstorm.
They can't conceptualize it.
Right. They cannot conceptualize cold as a weather pattern. They only know how they feel right now in the heated living room.
That brings us perfectly into the mind of the preschooler, Piaget's preoperational stage. I have to say, reading through the source material on this, their logic is just, it's fascinating. It's like they are living in a dream state.
There's what Piaget calls magical thinking, and it is literal. They believe their thoughts are all powerful. This is probably the defining characteristic of the preoperational stage.
Give us a clinical example of how that plays out.
Okay, so say a 5-year-old gets really angry at his younger brother. He thinks, in a moment of pure rage, I wish you would just disappear. The next day, the brother gets appendicitis and is rushed to the hospital.
Oh, no.
The preschooler believes, genuinely believes, that his thought caused the illness.
Wow. So they are carrying around this massive secret guilt.
Huge guilt. They think they are powerful wizards who hurt people with their minds. A nurse has to actively debrief that. You have to say, your brother is sick because of a germ or a problem in his tummy, not because you were mad at him. You have to absolve them of that magical responsibility.
That's incredibly important. And it's not just thoughts, it's objects, too. This idea of animism.
Right. They attribute life and intention to inanimate objects. If they trip over a toy, the toy is mean. He tried to trip them.
But hospital, that must be terrifying.
It is. An IV pump isn't just a machine beeping, it's a robot screaming at them. An MRI machine is a monster with a gaping mouth. They don't see technology. They see creatures.
Which explains why they're so afraid of the equipment.
Exactly. You can't just say it's a machine.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. You have to introduce it like a pet or a toy to demystify it.
The sources also talk a lot about centration. This is the famous juice experiment.
This really defines their inability to reason. If you take 2 identical glasses of juice and you pour one into a tall, skinny glass, the preschooler will swear the tall glass has more juice.
Even though they just watched you pour it from the identical glass?
Even though they watched it. It doesn't matter because they can only center on one variable at a time. They focus on the height of the liquid and completely ignore the width. They literally cannot process 2 dimensions simultaneously.
And that inability to process 2 things at once has huge safety implications.
It's the root of so many accidents. Think about crossing the street. To cross safely, you have to process the distance of the car and the speed of the car.
2 variables.
2 variables. The preschooler centers on one. The car is far away. They completely ignore the speed, so they step out. They physically cannot calculate the intercept.
Then there is transduction. This sounds technical, but the examples are actually quite funny until they interfere with care.
Transduction is just faulty logic. It's reasoning from particular to particular without understanding the general principle. I ate soup, and then I got a fever. Therefore, soup causes fevers.
Or in a nursing context.
The nurse in the yellow scrub top gave me a shot. You are wearing a yellow scrub top, therefore you are going to hurt me.
You are guilty by association of color.
Exactly. You're prejudged. And you cannot reason them out of it with logic. You can't say, no, I'm a different nurse and yellow is just a color. That logic doesn't land.
So what do?
You have to change the variable. Look, I don't have a needle, I have a sticker. You have to prove it concretely. Show, don't tell.
And finally, egocentrism. I think we all know some adults who never quite grew out of this, but for a preschooler, it's a hard cognitive limit.
It's not selfishness. That's a key distinction. It's not a moral failing.
Right.
It's an inability to see any perspective other than their own. The classic example is the child on the phone with grandma. Grandma asks, did you have a good day? And the child just nods their head.
And then they get frustrated that grandma doesn't respond.
Right. Because in their mind, I can see me nodding, so grandma must be able to see me nodding.
Mm-hmm.
They assume everyone sees, hears, and feels exactly what they do.
So if they are hiding behind a really thin pole and they can't see you,
then you can't see them, which makes hide and seek with a preschooler hilarious, but also incredibly dangerous in a parking lot. They think they are invisible just because they close their eyes.
Okay, let's shift gears to the emotional engine driving this car. What they're trying to achieve, according to Erickson. The stage is initiative versus guilt. What is the child actually trying to do here?
They are trying to assert power and control over their world. They do it through play and other social interaction. Initiative is that burning desire to plan something, to undertake a task, to make something happen.
I do it.
I do it. It's that simple. They want to dress themselves. They want to pour the milk, even if it spills everywhere. They want to be the doctor in the play scenario. It is a vital developmental need. They are energetic learners, and they feel a massive sense of accomplishment when they succeed.
And the guilt side of that equation, where does that come from?
This happens when that initiative is constantly crushed. If a parent is always hovering, saying, "No, you'll spill it, let me do it," or "You put your shoes on the wrong feet, you're so messy," the child starts to internalize that. They begin to feel that their activity, their drive to try, is bad.
So it's not just I made a mistake, it's my desire to try is wrong.
That's the core of it. And that leads to a fearful, passive child who is afraid to try new things. Now, there is a nuance here. Some guilt is necessary. They need to learn that their initiative has limits. You can't just hit your brother because you have the initiative to do so.
You're right. That's where a conscience comes from.
Exactly. Developing a conscience relies on a healthy dose of guilt. But the balance has to tip way over toward initiative.
The ultimate goal is a sense of purpose.
Yes. The outcome should be a sense of purpose. I can make things happen, and I can do it well.
So, clinical application. You have a 4-year-old who needs a checkup. How do you support their initiative in that setting?
You give them jobs. You don't just examine them. You say, "Okay, can you hold this stethoscope for me?" Or, "Which ear should I look in first?" You decide. Or, "Can you help me take the wrapper off this Band-Aid?"
You make them a partner in the exam. You empower them.
You turn them into the assistant. It feeds that hunger for initiative, and it distracts them from the fear. It turns a passive, scary event into an active, accomplished event.
Okay, let's bring this all together. The 80-20 synthesis. We've got the magical thinking brain, the initiative-driven heart, and the high-performance motor skills. How does this combination create the specific safety risks we see in the ER? Let's talk about why this creates these safety risks.
It is the perfect storm. Let's look at water safety first. Drowning is a leading cause of death for this age group. Why?
Well, the motor skills are there. They can definitely climb the pool fence.
Right. They have the agility. No problem there. But why do they jump in? Magical thinking. They might genuinely believe they are a mermaid today. And what do mermaids do?
They breathe underwater.
They breathe underwater.
Yeah.
Or they think, "I can swim with my floaties on." So they assume they can swim without them too, right?
That's transduction, faulty logic.
It is. I floated yesterday with wings, so I will float today without wings. They don't understand that the variable of the floaties was the actual cause.
That is just terrifying.
It is. You cannot teach a 4-year-old to be water safe reliably. Supervision, constant supervision, is the only defense because their logic will betray them every single time. They might know the rule, don't go near the pool, but if their ball rolls in, centration kicks in.
They always see the ball.
They focus on the ball, they forget the rule, and they fall in.
Okay, what about firearms? The sources were very specific about this age group.
This intersects with their inability to understand concepts like dead or permanent. To a preschooler, death is reversible.
Like in cartoons.
Exactly. They see it in cartoons all the time. The coyote gets crushed by an anvil, turns into an accordion, and in the next scene, he's totally fine.
So if they find a gun.
Their initiative says, play with this. Their magical thinking says, it's a toy. And their cognitive limit says, if I shoot it, my friend will just get back up. They do not understand the permanence of the action.
So the nursing education to parents can't be teach your child not to touch.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That relies on impulse control they do not have. The education has to be lock it and unload it. It has to be engineering controls. You have to remove the risk entirely.
Let's talk about poisoning. This links right back to centration, doesn't it?
Directly. A pill is small, round, and brightly colored. A Skittle is small, round, and brightly colored. The child centers on the appearance.
It looks like candy, therefore it is candy.
And because of initiative, they want to eat it now. They won't ask permission. They have terrible impulse control. Even if you told them yesterday not to touch the medicine cabinet, the immediate visual stimulus of that candy overrides the memory of the rule.
What about burns? This was another big category.
This is a failure to understand abstract qualities. Hot is invisible. You can't see the temperature of bath water, They have the motor skill to turn the faucet handle. Initiative says, I'll draw my own bath. But they have no concept that water can burn skin in seconds.
So again, we rely on engineering, not education.
Yes, you set the home water heater to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 49 Celsius. So if the child turns the hot water all the way on, you want to buy yourself time before a scald burn happens. You cannot rely on the child to test the water.
And finally, pedestrian safety. We touched on this with the speed of the car, but there's an egocentrism angle to it too.
Oh, for sure. It's the I see you, you see me fallacy. If a child runs into the street after a ball and they look at the car, they assume the driver sees them.
Because they can see the driver.
Exactly. They also assume the car can stop instantly, like they can. They don't understand momentum or braking distance.
It really is like they are operating on a different set of physical laws.
They are operating on cartoon physics. And parents need to know that. You cannot trust a preschooler near a street, even if they promise to look both ways. Their brain literally cannot process the data correctly.
Quick note on car seats before we move on. The guidelines have shifted a bit over the years, but what's the current standard?
So, forward-facing with a harness until they outgrow the weight or height limits of that seat. Then, usually around age 4 or 40 pounds, they transition to a booster seat.
And they stay in that booster for a long time.
A long time. Until they are 4 feet 9 inches tall, which is usually somewhere between 8 and 12 years old.
And the back seat is always safest.
Always. Non-negotiable. Airbags in the front seat can be fatal for a preschooler.
Okay, let's move to something a bit lighter. Play. Play is the work of the child, as they say. How does it change from the toddler years? Why this leads to this type of play?
So toddlers do what we call parallel play. They're playing next to each other, but basically ignoring each other.
Right, in their own little worlds.
Completely. Preschoolers graduate to associative play.
Define that for us.
They play together in a loose group. They might be swapping blocks or chasing each other around. But there are no rigid rules. It's unorganized.
So they aren't playing a game of soccer with, like, positions and a goalie.
No. If you watch preschool soccer, it's a swarm of bees following the ball. That's associative play in action. They don't have the cognitive bandwidth for offense versus defense or complex rules. That's for school-age kids, which we call cooperative play.
And this is the peak age for imitative or dramatic play.
Oh, absolutely. Dressing up, playing house, doctor, firefighter. This is pure Erickson. They are trying on adult roles. They are practicing reality. It is crucial for their emotional development to act out these scenarios. It helps them process what they see in the world.
The sources also mention imaginary friends. I feel like parents often worry about this. You think, is my kid hallucinating?
It is so normal and so healthy. It's a creative projection. It allows them to practice conversation, but it also helps them externalize their fear.
How so?
The child might say, I'm not scared of the dark, but my friend Bobo is terrifyingly scared. It allows them to express the emotion without owning the vulnerability. It's a brilliant coping mechanism.
That's smart. So, exam check. What are the appropriate toys for this age?
You want to think initiative and motor skills. So tricycles, wagons, jungle gyms for gross motor.
Right.
Blocks, puzzles with large pieces for fine motor. And then dress-up clothes, puppets, dolls for that dramatic play.
And what should we avoid? What's a common exam distractor?
Complex board games. They hate rules and they hate losing.
Because they're egocentric.
Yes. If they lose, they feel it as a personal attack, or they'll just cheat because they make up the rules as they go to ensure they win. It almost always leads to tears. Stick to open-ended play where there are no clear winners or losers.
Let's go back into the hospital room. How nurses use this knowledge on exams and in clinicals. We talked about the fear of equipment like the MRI monster, but there's a very specific fear called fear of mutilation.
This is a big one, a really big one. They have a very poor understanding of body integrity. They think their skin is basically a sac that holds everything in.
So a needle puncture
is a leak. They genuinely fear that if you poke them with a needle, all their insides might leak out. They think they might deflate like a balloon.
This sounds ridiculous to an adult, but for them, it's a primal terror. So what is the magic bullet intervention here?
The Band-Aid.
The Band-Aid.
It's that simple. To a preschooler, a Band-Aid is not a sterile dressing. It is a seal. It fixes the hole. It keeps the magic inside.
So even if the shot didn't bleed at all?
Doesn't matter. Put a Band-Aid on it, a fun one if you have it. It is psychological PPE. If you give a shot and leave the hole open, you might trigger a full-blown panic attack because they think their body is now compromised.
And therapeutic play fits in here too, right? Especially before a procedure.
Yes, it's critical. If you need to listen to their heart, let them listen to the teddy bear's heart first. Or let them listen to your heart. It demystifies the monster. It gives them initiative, oh, I'm the doctor now. It gives them a sense of control over a very scary situation.
Let's touch on nutrition. This is often where parents get very, very stressed. My kid won't eat.
We call this physiological anorexia. It sounds really clinical and scary, but it just means their appetite drops because their growth rate has slowed way down. They don't need the massive amount of calories they needed as infants.
So they aren't starving themselves?
No. They're just regulating. And they become very picky. Food fads are extremely common. I only eat chicken nuggets for 3 weeks. Or, I won't eat anything green.
So how should a nurse advise a parent to handle that? Because it's very stressful.
The key is, do not force feed. Force feeding creates a power struggle, and it creates guilt, which is the negative outcome of Erickson's stage. The rule is, parents decide what is served and when. The child decides if they eat and how much.
You control the environment, not the child.
Exactly. If they don't eat their broccoli at dinner, they won't starve. They will eat at the next meal. And keep portions small. A tablespoon per year of age is a good rule of thumb.
Okay, sleep, another battlefield. The exams love to test the difference between nightmares and night terrors. These are not the same thing.
Not at all. They're completely different neurological events.
Let's break them down. Let's start with nightmares.
Okay, nightmares happen in REM sleep. That's dream sleep. The child wakes up fully. They are crying. They are scared. And most importantly, they remember the dream. They can tell you, a bear was chasing me.
So the intervention is comfort.
Yes. You hold them. You validate their fear. You say, that sounds so scary, but you are safe now. Monsters aren't real. Use a nightlight. Reassure them.
Now, night terrors, these are different.
Totally different. These happen in deep, non-REM sleep.
Yeah.
The child might sit up, scream, thrash around. Their eyes might even be open. But, and this is the absolute key, they are not awake.
They are asleep, even while screaming.
They are completely asleep. If you try to talk to them, they look right through you. If you try to hold them, they might fight you. They are disoriented and can't be consoled.
And the next morning?
They have zero memory of it. They wake up happy and refreshed. Meanwhile, the parents are traumatized and haven't slept all night.
So the intervention for night terrors is completely counterintuitive.
It is. You do not wake them.
Yeah.
You will just confuse and agitate them more. You just sit by the bed, make sure they don't fall out or hit their head, and you wait for it to pass. They will settle back down on their own.
That is hard advice for a parent to follow when their kid is screaming like that.
It's one of the hardest things to do. But waking them actually prolongs the episode and scares them because they wake up to terrified parents hovering over them.
Finally, let's hit the hard data. Immunizations. The 4 to 6 year booster cluster. These are the kindergarten shots.
Right. They need to boost the immunity they got as babies before they enter the petri dish of elementary school.
We have a mnemonic for this one in the sources. Very dim.
Yep, VDIM. It helps you remember the 4 key shots they get in this window.
Walk us through it.
So V is for varicella, the chickenpox vaccine. This is the 2nd dose. D is for DTaP diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. This is the 5th dose in that series. I is for IPV inactivated polio vaccine. That's the 4th dose. And M is for MMR measles, mumps, and rubella, the 2nd dose.
Very dim. Varicella, DTaP, IPV, MMR. And there's one more, right? The annual one?
The flu shot, influenza. Now, for this age group, you have a choice. You can do the shot, the inactivated vaccine, or you can do the nasal spray, the live attenuated one, LAIV.
Kids obviously prefer the spray, but there are rules.
There are. The spray is a live virus, so you cannot give it to a child who is immunocompromised or has asthma. If they have any history of wheezing, you have to stick to the shot. That's a classic exam trick question.
Got it. Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground here. From tadpole people drawings to the philosophy of death in cartoons.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up with our 80-20 summary box. If the listener walks away with only 4 concepts that will answer most of the questions, what are they?
Here is the cheat sheet. This is what you need to know.
If you know they are magical thinkers from Piaget, you know why they think they cause their siblings illness and why you absolutely cannot trust them near a pool they think they can fly or breathe underwater.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2, if you know they are driven by initiative from Erickson, you know to let them hold the stethoscope and help dress themselves to prevent anxiety and guilt. You turn the exam into a job they can perform.
Number 3.
Number 3, if you know they fear mutilation, you know that a Band-Aid is more important to the child than the actual medicine. It seals the leak. It is the most critical tool you have.
And number 4.
And number 4, if you know they engage in associative play, you know they will play near others and share toys, but they are not ready for the complex rules of board games or team sports. Don't pick Monopoly as the right toy.
It really does all connect. When you stop just memorizing the lists and start looking at the developmental logic behind it, the answers just, they appear.
That's the goal. That's the whole point. Understanding the why makes the what obvious.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought to chew on. We talked about the preschooler as a contradiction. And I was thinking, they are basically little scientists